The bench press, the king of all chest exercises and one of the first movements we all learn when entering the gym. Yet, many lifters are still performing this movement incorrectly. For that reason, it is the cause of many injuries. In this video, I'll be addressing how to perform the bench press safely and effectively to maximize your progress by improving your overall efficiency. If applied correctly, you'll be able to blow up your bench press numbers with these key tips. Later on in this video, I'll also be showing how I fix my friend's bench press in one session with a few simple corrections. Right, let's start at the very beginning. The setup, the foundation of your lift that will determine your success. The setup is where you will create full body tension, which is vital if you want to increase your bench. Let's start with setting your upper back and shoulders. Addressing this will be the first step to preventing shoulder issues whilst you bench. Now you can choose to set your upper back as shown on the video, on the rack, or alternatively leveraging from the barbell. The main things we are looking for here is scapular retraction and depression, so essentially pinching your shoulder blades together and down into the bench. If done correctly, this will create an arch whereby your sternum is now the highest contact point. This will create a stable base to press from and stop your body from shifting back whilst utilising leg drive. Next up is foot placement. You can start with your feet up on the bench while setting your upper back and plant them following that. Alternatively, you can plant them whilst you're setting your upper back. Either way, you are looking to bring them as far back as comfortably possible, whereby you can apply pressure throughout the whole lift with consistent leg drive, which we'll be covering later in the video. There are two ways you can have your feet. One way would be to have your feet completely flat with your heel planted on the ground. The next alternative is with your heel off the ground, applying pressure through the front of your foot. Both do have their merits. Heel off the ground can benefit those who struggle to maintain an arch. However, it is not accepted in some powerlifting federations. I personally prefer to have my heel on the ground, as this provides me with a more stable base to press from and comfortably apply consistent pressure throughout the lift. Grip width on the bar can vary person to person. I personally like to place my middle finger on the power rings. The main thing we are looking for is stack joints, so elbows directly below wrists. Some people like to imagine bending the bar, as this will allow you to screw your lats into position. Before we move on to the unrack, first I'd like to cover leg drive. Now this is where you see a lot of people going wrong, in that they only apply leg drive, if any, on the upward phase of the lift, which can lead to inconsistent pressing. Your leg drive should be a consistent pressure applied into the ground. Some people like to imagine they're doing a leg extension into the ground. That way you are pushing yourself back up the bench. The main aim here is to give you the best power transfer and a more stable base to press from. Now moving on to the unrack. Unrack height plays a big role. You want to have the correct height so that you can clear the pins with minimal effort and no loss of tension. Ideally, you would be using your triceps just to clear the pins. What you don't want here is loss of shoulder position and full body tension by shoulders coming off the bench. At commercial gyms, you might not have a choice. Ideally, grab yourself a spotter so you are able to maintain the tightness you built during the setup whilst unracking. Now, once you've unracked the bar, this part is very key. You'll want to use purely your lats. Imagine that you are performing a lat pullover to bring the bar over your shoulder joint, looking to maintain tightness and shoulder positioning. Before beginning the lift, you will want to make sure your feet are planted and that you have the following points of contact. You'll want your glutes, upper back and head on the bench. Now the descent. You want constant tension through the legs with your glutes squeezed. Now when it comes to your elbows, you will want them tucked to avoid any flaring. Some people like to imagine rowing the bar towards you for greater lat engagement. Now with elbow tucking, there is a sweet spot. Over tucking will just lead to a loss in power output, and under tucking will lead to unnecessary front delt involvement. The main thing we'll be looking for here is again stack joints. Elbows directly under wrists, which are directly under the barbell. Another thing we are looking for is maintaining tightness with a controlled descent all the way down to the highest contact point on your chest. Ideally, you want a soft pause, making sure you're raising your sternum to the bar and also putting emphasis on not collapsing your arch when the bar is resting on your lower chest sternum region. Now, I always recommend bench pressing with a pause to create more consistent pressing and to essentially force you to maintain a better position with greater efficiency and tightness, as you'll be penalised if you lose any tightness. It also helps to take any inconsistencies out of the lift, preventing any cheating through bouncing the bar off of your chest. Now when it comes to the bench press, bar path is everything. The bar should start directly over your shoulder joint, touch the highest contact point on your chest, and finish back in the starting position every single rep. This will create better consistency and efficiency, which in the long run will help you increase your bench and in turn help you build a bigger chest. Now when it comes to the concentric portion of the lift, do not press in a straight line. You want to finish at your starting point for greatest power output. When it comes to lockout, especially performing multiple reps, you want to lock out with your tricep and avoid losing any tightness. Many people tend to lose shoulder positioning when locking out, and a way to try and combat this is to reset your shoulder position after every rep to reinforce good motor pathways. Now we've covered the basics of the bench press, I'll show you how I fix my friend Big Ron's bench press with a few simple tricks. Now Ronnie, as with most people, didn't know he was doing anything wrong and got set in his ways of poor motor pathways. As with most people, he was assuming his technique was fine. Now the last time I saw Ronnie, a couple of years ago, we fixed his unrack, which was very aggressive and front delt dominant, and also his grip width, it was way too close, which in the long run would have put a ceiling on how much he can bench. This is why it can be important to have someone with you or to record your lifts to keep yourself honest. Good technique and longevity in the gym go hand in hand, and ideally we would all like to stay injury free and stay progressing. Right, let's take a look at his before footage. As I reviewed Ronnie's bench footage, it gave me the idea to record this video. So Ronnie's an intellectual guy with a lot of lifting knowledge, but even he had no idea he'd fallen into bad habits. After reviewing the footage, my main takeaways were, despite a rush unrack, as we can see, Ronnie is doing a lot of things correctly. Good bar path, staying retracted into the bench. The glaring issues were leg drive and bouncing the weight off of his chest. Applying leg drive on the second half of the lift only, combined with body slamming the weight off of his chest, losing all tightness and focusing on purely momentum. The result was clearly some blasphemous glute raise off of the bench. Now to tackle this was simple. Step 1, making him aware of the issue, and step 2, implementing the following steps. Step 1 was slowing down the unrack, making sure he was tight and retracted before beginning the lift. Step 2 was consistent leg drive. Instead of it being a tool to simply just get the weight up, instead using it as a tool to create a stable base throughout the lift, applying consistent pressure into the floor. Additionally, I got him to squeeze his glutes, which will help keep his glutes on the bench. Here's his form just one session on from that. As you can see, it is very much improved in one session. Now he is aware of the issue and how to fix it. The form will only improve further over time, setting better motor pathways to build from. Another thing we will implement is bringing his foot placement out wider and increasing the foot flare to lock his glutes onto the bench whilst initiating leg drive. This video should serve as a reminder to keep yourself honest with your lifts. Yes, in the short run, cheating your lifts will help you be able to push more weight, but in the long run, improved technique and efficiency will lead to a bigger bench and a lower injury risk. Alright, drop a like if you enjoyed the video and comment below if you want me to do a series on how to perform certain exercises. Please consider subscribing if you learnt something in this video. samwrightfitness.co.uk for coaching. I'll see you in the next one.